Okay, I recently recorded my top 5 MMA moments of 2022, and now we're going to get into the top 5 boxing moments of 2022. Not really as much as MMA, I won't lie to you. Boxing, it has its years where some years it's amazing, you have so many amazing fights, and then some years it's lacking. And I think this is one of those years. There were some good fights and some good moments, don't get it twisted. I think my list is I was looking at it before. It's quite an interesting one because there's some moments that people maybe won't think, but I kind of feel are. And I think the difference that I want to say here with boxing is in MMA, it was the moments. It was like the Chandler KO, the Edwards head kick, like the big wow moments. In boxing, I'm picking this list purely of the significance of what it meant for the sport. And you'll see this with a lot of my picks. I think most people will kind of. There's a few of them I think people may disagree, but I think most will go with. There obviously was some honourable mentions. That Dillian Whyte getting KO'd by Fury uppercut at Wembley was an amazing fight. I mean, not amazing fight, it's a terrible fight, but amazing KO. You know, you got a few really. The Joshua and Usyk fight, which obviously, even though didn't really go the way a lot of people in Britain would have wanted it to, it was still a very entertaining fight, and obviously Usyk got that one done. You know, there's a few in the heavyweight division. There's obviously some exciting ones here and there, but nothing really that specifically stood out. Same at welterweight, really. Same at somewhat at middleweight. Yeah, there wasn't really many. Like I said, you've obviously got. I think the Inoue fights were quite exciting to watch, but again, nothing really that grabbed you. Shakur Stevenson, I thought had a fantastic year, but still nothing really that. To me, you know, that excites you to a point where I would say it makes it onto this list. But there are definitely some interesting moments. So, starting off at number 5. This one is going to, I won't say shock, might surprise some people because I don't think many people have this on their list. Like I said, it's the significance of what I'm going to go for here. And again, it's surprising, but stick with me on this one. I'm going to go for the Errol Spence's win over Yordenis Ugas, which obviously resulted in Errol Spence, or actually the doctor, stopping the fight in the... What was the round? I forget the round actually now. I want to say it was like the 10th round. Not exactly sure, but if it escapes me. I definitely know it was obviously after a certain point. I think it was the 10th actually. Now that comes to me. And so, reason why I picked this. First of all, unification clash at welterweight. Welterweight is the money division in the whole of boxing. Everybody remembers the likes of Floyd, Sugar Ray Leonard, Manny Pacquiao, Ricky Hatton, and now in this division you've got Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, and you will get many more bigger names. You did somewhat have Conor Bennett until he's gone out of the picture in terms of for Britain, and Kell Brook was also in it. You also had Amir Khan. So there was so many moments that I think really grabbed people. But to me, I'm going to say that this is, to me, number 5. Now, the reason why I go this one as number 5, before I should say, I'll forgot another honourable mention actually. The I don't know how this one, again, this is why I say sometimes there's a lot of things that really that escape me. But I think the also the Kell Brook and Amir Khan fight, which was right at the start of 2022. So another big one, which I forget. But again, for boxing, it wasn't really huge, I would say. That's what I put. But anyway, back on the Spence Ugas. The reason I put this, unification bout, it would have meant if Spence won the fight, which he did, he would have had the majority of the belts in the welterweight division. He already did have 2 of them, but now adding a third really puts the stakes on that Crawford fight because it would make it undisputed. I think with Ugas, the way he beat Pacquiao, people were thinking this guy could do something. And Spence was coming off a very bad eye injury. People wondering, is it the same? It's in Texas. There's so much that went into it. And the fight was great. I loved the fight. I think Ugas was doing good in the first few rounds, and Spence really started to pick it up. And then Spence made that one mistake. He thought his mouthpiece was out, and the referee said stop. And Ugas hit him and wobbled Spence. I don't think it's anything big for Spence. He just needs to pay attention. But as soon as that happened, Spence turned on dog mode and just beat Ugas down in a way which I don't think I've seen in a welterweight fight for a long time. He just I mean, I've said it before, Errol Spence is my favourite fighter in boxing. He just does something to guys. There's winning against the opponent and there's beating them. And Spence really beats them. I mean, look what he did to Kell Brook with his eye. He did the same thing to Ugas. You know, he's somebody. I remember the fight against Lamont Peterson was a very brutal one as well. Spence, he's a hard hitter, but he's not one like a concussive puncher like how a Boots Ennis is. But he's a guy who's hard hitting enough that will really damage you as the rounds go on. And he kept up a pace which it was crazy to watch, and he really made the Crawford fight, even though it's not happening immediately, definitely made it interesting. So yeah, a brilliant win and a fantastic performance from Spence in the end. And this post-fight interview, he did call out Crawford. So the fight is still not happened yet, and doesn't look like getting made anytime soon. So that is very annoying. But regardless, it still was for that moment. I think it was excellent. But I still have faith that fight will be made. But we'll see. But definitely, I think that would be to me the fifth moment for me in the top 5 boxing list. Getting to number 4 now. Again, this was more of the actual fight itself rather than the result and what happened. But I would say the Canelo Triple G trilogy fight. Easy win for Canelo in the end, obviously. But I felt it was a big fight. You know, it was the first time in a long time at that time when we had a real big fight on our hands. Again, some people may disagree with this, but I think with Triple G being the 2 losses to Canelo, or not actually the 1 loss to Canelo, I should say, and obviously the 1 being a draw. Both times people thought Triple G won, so there was that thing of, if he beat him kind of twice, can he do it again? Canelo, I think, was coming off the Bivol loss. So there was so much that was going into it. And obviously Canelo got it done in the end. It was comfortable for him. But I feel like the significance of the fight and it being a trilogy fight and having 2 of the best going at it, I think it was a great build-up was great. I think its spectacle was good. The fight didn't really deliver, but it's still an excellent performance from Canelo, I felt. And some question marks around Canelo as well. So it wasn't like the most entertaining fight, but I felt the build-up and what it was, to me, puts it at number 4. And like I said, significance for the sport. That was really Triple G's first legitimate loss to a lot of people. So yeah, and I felt it wrapped the trilogy up nicely. Canelo was seen as the better fighter, beat the older fighter, and yeah, that was it. There's nothing really much I can say in comparison to the last one. I think this fight was, again, I was kind of debating whether not to put this. Maybe I could have put the Brook and Khan on this instead, but I think this fight, again, to the global scale, I think it had more attention, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the pay-per-view figures might tell differently, but to me, I think this was number 4. I think the Canelo Triple G fight had a lot of stakes. 2 very bad men and 2 guys who were seen as the best middleweights for a while. Obviously, I know Canelo's super middleweight now / light heavyweight, but to me, I think the fight definitely the spectacle around it is where I'm going off here, and I think there's a lot of intrigue in the fight. The fight wasn't terrible, to be honest. It was a relatively routine win for Canelo, but I think still the occasion, everything, and then the performance, I think, from Canelo is why I put it on this list. But yeah, that was my number 4 pick. Like I said, this won't be as long as my MMA one, I don't think, because it wasn't as many crazy moments. My number 3 is the Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano fight at MSG, in which Katie Taylor ended up winning. Historic night for women's boxing. It was the first ever bout to headline Madison Square Garden, and everybody billed it as the biggest women's fight of all time. Katie Taylor in the end got it done. Very close fight in the end. I actually completely forgot how let me see if I can find a scorecard for it, because I remember it was a very close fight, and it was the first fight where Katie Taylor has had some near misses, but to me that was the one where it really felt like she was in trouble at a very significant part in that fight. And again, it was an interesting fight. I think people kind of overhyped the fight a bit. Right, here we go. So I think the fight in terms wasn't like an all-out war up until a certain point. I think it was around round 6 it started to really heat up, and I had Serrano actually winning that fight by 2 rounds. I don't know I wouldn't say it was a robbery, if I remember correctly. It was a very close fight. I did give Serrano the edge, but it was close. And I think it's funny, a lot of these women boxing fights, remember the Michaela Mayer and Alicia Baumgardner fight also being very close, but I feel it was very much a fight that was worthy of MSG, worthy of being the biggest women's fight of all time. Personally, I still was more excited for the Claressa Shields and Savannah Marshall fight, but still, a very interesting fight. And to me, at War, they both put it in there, both gave the absolute best. Yeah, definitely one of the best fights of the year. I thought it was an excellent bout. And I think they both can be proud, regardless of what happens in their careers. They were both in that fight, first time at MSG, historic for women's boxing, and hopefully that moves forward, because I think there still are a lot of other fights, I think, and a lot of female fights that will come through, which will probably be better than these. These are just the start, I always think, of women's boxing. It reminds me of MMA when we had Ronda Rousey and everybody thought she was the best, and then Amanda Nunes came along, and we have Valentina Shevchenko now. And there's so many great other fighters in women's MMA at the moment. Not overall, there's obviously, I think the majority aren't fantastic, but still enough to which I would say to warrant headlining some certain cards. And the same in women's boxing. I think you've got a few. You've got Kate Taylor, Amanda Serrano are two of them. I believe Alicia Baumgartner's one. I think Michaela Mayer is good, but I think she lacks that power and that sort of explosiveness. You also know Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall, I think, are two. So there's a few that up there, and I think it'll only grow women's boxing with fights like this and people seeing what can be done. So yeah, excellent fight though. Going on to number 2, and that is Devin Haney becoming the undisputed lightweight champion after beating George Kambosos in a routine, comfortable victory. So good, he actually did it twice this year, but I'm going to go off the first one. It was in the Marvel Stadium. He was in George Kambosos' backyard. Obviously, Kambosos was there because obviously he beat Teofimo Lopez to capture the belts, and real an exciting fight in terms of what it was billed as. In the end, it was comfortable for Haney. You know, he's going to Australia in Kambosos' hometown, home country. You'd think there's a lot of pressure, but it was comfortable for him in the end. Went exactly how I thought it would go. But historic though for Devin Haney becoming the undisputed lightweight champion. Like I said, list is made of what the significance are for the sport, and this was extremely significant. I didn't really feel there were many moments as big as this for a fighter this year. Being undisputed champion is the pinnacle of the sport for me, and you know, there aren't many undisputed champions. You look at the weight divisions, you know, for the heavyweight, you got Fury and Usyk, who are the two champions. You got light heavy, you have Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol, who are the two champions. You know, you look at welterweight, you got Crawford and Spence, who are the two champions. Weight above, you got obviously junior middleweight or super lightweight or whatever. However they categorize it nowadays. You have obviously Jamal Charlo as the champion there, holding all the belts. Go up to middleweight. You have Golovkin, you have Jamal Charlo. Again, like this split between all the divisions. Canelo carries all the belts at super middleweight. And at cruiserweight as well. You got Makabu, who has a WBC belt. You have Okoli, who has a WBO. It's split between all of them pretty much. So yeah, I think Haney though, to go in a division as talented and as stacked as lightweight, when you look at fighters like Tank, like Ryan Garcia, like Teofimo Lopez at the time, and now Shakur Stevenson's entered the division, Lomachenko's there, and the fact that he went in there and he's the current king, has all the belts, I think was significant for the sport, and shows that Haney at the moment is the best lightweight in the world, bar none. And yeah, it was an absolute schooling as well in his hometown. Kambosos didn't even do anything. It was absolute one-sided schooling. Like I said, I don't think it was close at all, but easy night's work for Haney. Kambosos is a good fighter, but I think you just saw the levels of what Devin Haney is, and he stepped up in the biggest fight of his career, and he did it twice and did it in the exact same way. So yeah, excellent performance from Devin Haney, and historic for him, and historic for the lightweight division to have another undisputed lightweight champion. So excellent work. Now, going into my number 1, now there's a few thoughts that went in my mind making this list. However, number 1 was the probably as easy as a decision that I think I ever had. Obviously, this list with boxing, like I said, there wasn't many moments that I think really stood out this year. However, one does stand out, and that is Dmitry Bivol beating Canelo Alvarez for his light heavyweight belts at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. It was An amazing fight, first of all. People talk about it a lot, but it was very competitive at a certain point. But Bivol was almost remarkably, even though Canelo's going up weight, was a bit quicker, and it showed as good as Canelo is, weight classes exist for a reason. Bivol was not an old Canelo. Canelo. He was an old Kovalev. He wasn't an old man in there. He was a man who's younger than Canelo. A very, very young light heavyweight who is fantastic. I've fought this for a long time from Bivol. And when the fight was made, I thought he could win Canelo, but it's not an easy fight. And he showed it. Bivol showed on the night. He outworked Canelo every single time. Canelo was almost looking for a break. Bivol was just overwhelming him. Especially his he's not really technically amazing, Bivol, but he's good enough for that division. And with Canelo, he couldn't really do much against him. There were times when Canelo was almost trying to beckon him into the ropes and almost was acting like he wanted to have a scrap, but really he was tired. Bivol tired him out in there. Canelo's trick of punching to the arms didn't really work against Bivol because I think he was just too much for him. It was just like he was fighting a guy who was just too quick for him. The amount of times you see Canelo back up on the back foot up against the ropes, the amount of times you see Canelo get hit. Canelo rarely gets hit, but he got hit a lot in that fight. So I think it's a wake up call, not in a bad way for Canelo, but shows that there's limits that every fighter has, and that was his. I handed him his second loss in his career after obviously Floyd back in the day, which was, funnily enough, he was almost too small for Floyd. Not maybe too small is the wrong word. He was too small. He was obviously weight drained in that fight against Floyd, and in this fight he was way too big. And that wasn't the reason why he lost against Floyd. Against Floyd, he was just, the levels was just different. But against Bivol, he went up against the guy who was bigger than him, stronger than him, and who I think was remarkably quicker than him for a guy who's bigger. So it shows that at this level, yeah, the skill's important, but ultimately, like I said, weight classes exist for a reason. Someone like Terence Crawford could not go up and fight Anthony Joshua. Somebody like a Inoue couldn't go up and fight a Crawford or a Spence. There's weight classes are there, like I said, for a reason. They exist. Everybody grows and bodies grow in different ways, and sometimes some guys can grow a lot and have a lot of weight put on them, and some guys don't. It's just the cards you dealt. And Canelo, big guy, he's put on a lot of muscle over the years, a lot bigger than when he was younger, but again, still not big enough for that division, and very small as well, which I think did not help him because it looked like he constantly was overreaching and couldn't really get near Bivol. So yeah, it was a comfortable victory though for Dimitri Bivol. Yeah, I don't think there's many that really come close to competing with the number one on this list. I think it was a big moment. It shocked quite a few people. Canelo being the number one pound for pound, a superstar of the sport, but he shows he's still human, and you make mistakes. You don't want to be going up against guys who are like heavyweights like that, and I don't want to see a rematch either. I think it will happen, but I don't want to see. I think the same thing happens again. I don't see what Canelo could do differently, to be honest. Bivol was just too much for him. So yeah, I wouldn't want to see that again. But regardless, though, it was still an entertaining fight for what lasted. I forget what was it the Rose Namajunas fight was on that time? There was another fight in the UFC which was also on around the same time. I forget what the card was, but yeah, regardless though, excellent fight. Not as, again, I think MMA kind of beat boxing this year in terms of the more exciting moments, but regardless, still some entertaining fights on the horizon, and I'm going to do my top 5 MMA fights I want to see, and I've got a few videos on what I would like to see in the new year for both the sports, MMA and boxing, so stay tuned. But yeah, just my top 5 boxing moments of 2022, and yeah, until next time.